Ladies and gentlemen, imagine waking up every morning with a deep sense of purpose, knowing that no matter what happens today, God has already paved the way for your success. What if you could start each day with the unwavering belief that the struggles you're facing are part of a bigger plan, one that guarantees hope, prosperity, and a bright future? Jeremiah 29 offers us just that promise. It's not just a verse to read, it's a life-changing declaration that God has plans for you that will propel you forward. Today, I'm going to share how starting your day with the powerful message of Jeremiah 29 can completely shift your mindset, ease your worries, and fill you with hope. Stick with me because what you're about to hear will transform your mornings and set you on a path of unshakable faith. You won't want to miss this. Every day when you open your eyes and step into the world, you are given an incredible opportunity to embrace a day filled with purpose. But how do you view the day ahead? Do you see it as another routine, or do you approach it with the knowledge that God has already designed a plan specifically for you? Jeremiah 29:11 tells us, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." This verse is not just a promise, it's an invitation to trust. It's a reminder that no matter how unpredictable or challenging life seems, God's plan is unfolding in your life every single day. When you start your day, remind yourself that everything you encounter, both the good and the bad, is part of God's greater purpose. Life isn't always going to be easy. It's going to be filled with challenges. But these challenges are not there to defeat you. They are part of a grand design, one that's meant to make you stronger, wiser, and more resilient. When you realize that every moment of your life is part of a plan, you begin to view even the hardest times through a new lens. The struggles, the setbacks, the moments of doubt, they all serve a purpose. And that purpose is to bring you closer to the person you're meant to be. How often do you wake up in the morning with a sense of dread or fear about the unknown? You might not be sure how the day is going to unfold, and that uncertainty can weigh heavy on your heart. But the power of Jeremiah 29:11 is that it reminds you there is no uncertainty with God. He is in control. The road ahead might be unclear, but He is already there. You might not know what challenges the day will bring, but He does. And because of that, you can trust that the day will unfold as it's meant to. This doesn't mean that everything will go your way. In fact, life is full of detours and hurdles. But the beautiful part about knowing God has a plan for you is that these detours aren't roadblocks. They're opportunities for growth. Every difficulty you face is a chance to learn, to trust more deeply, and to see how God is working behind the scenes. This knowledge empowers you. It frees you from the anxiety of the unknown and encourages you to face every situation with confidence. We often get caught up in trying to control every aspect of our lives. We plan, we strategize, and we push ourselves to the limit in the hopes of securing the future we desire. But here's the truth. There's a limit to what we can control. Life will always throw us curveballs, and there are things beyond our ability to manage. However, God's plans for us are never out of our control. He is the ultimate planner, and His vision for our future is far greater than anything we could create on our own. Starting each day with this understanding gives you a sense of peace, knowing that you don't have to carry the weight of your future on your shoulders. You can trust that God's got it covered. So when you wake up tomorrow, don't just start your day as a routine. Start it with this powerful truth. God's plans are meant to prosper you, not to harm you. The future ahead is full of promise. Even if you can't see all the pieces of the puzzle just yet, trust that each step you take is part of a journey that God has already laid out for you, and that every experience, every victory, and every setback is part of His plan to bring you into a future filled with hope. When you start your day with this knowledge, you set yourself on a path of faith, resilience, and trust, knowing that God's plans are unfolding just as they should. When you wake up every morning, one of the biggest obstacles that often stands in your way is the weight of worry. Worry about your job, your relationships, your health, or what the future holds. It's natural to feel this way, especially when things aren't going the way you hoped or planned. But the beauty of Jeremiah 29:11 is that it reminds us that we don't have to carry those worries alone. God's promise in this verse is clear. He has a plan for your life, a plan to prosper you and give you a future filled with hope. Starting your day with this truth means choosing to let go of the fear and anxiety that try to consume you and instead trust that God is working in your life even when you don't see it. The truth is, when we focus too much on our worries, we allow them to control our mindset. They cloud our judgment, steal our peace, and prevent us from moving forward with confidence. Anxiety makes us second guess our decisions, doubt our abilities, and question whether things will ever get better. But if we truly believe that God's plan for us is one of prosperity and hope, we can begin to shift our perspective. The worries we hold on to are often rooted in uncertainty about what will happen next. We fear failure, rejection, or the unknown. But God is saying, you don't need to worry. I've got it covered. When you let go of that worry, it frees up your mind to focus on what truly matters. Instead of spending your energy obsessing over what could go wrong, you start thinking about what you can do to align yourself with God's plan for you. The more you trust in God's plan, the less room there is for anxiety to take hold of your heart. God's word is a reminder that even in moments of uncertainty, you are not alone. His presence in your life is a constant source of peace and assurance. You don't have to figure everything out on your own. You can trust that God has already laid out the path for you. We can spend so much time worrying about the what ifs that we miss out on the what's next. Every day is an opportunity to take the next step, even if that step is just a small one. Instead of paralyzing yourself with worry about the future, start taking action today with the belief that God is guiding you every step of the way. This doesn't mean that life won't throw challenges your way. It will. But when you trust that God is with you, you can face those challenges with a different mindset. You know that the challenges are not meant to harm you. They are simply part of the bigger picture God is creating in your life. Starting your day by trusting in God's plan to prosper you means choosing to take that first step of faith every morning. You don't need to know all the details. You don't need to have it all figured out. What matters is that you're trusting God with your future and releasing the burden of worry. Every time you let go of your anxiety, you make room for peace and faith to grow. You begin to see that the plan God has for you is better than any plan you could create on your own. His plan is rooted in love, hope, and a future that will prosper you in ways you can't even imagine. As you start each new day, remind yourself that God's promises are real and His plan for your life is good. No matter what happens today, you don't have to carry the weight of worry. Instead, you can walk in the assurance that God is working behind the scenes, leading you toward a future filled with hope and prosperity. And as you trust in His plan, you will begin to see how He moves in your life, turning challenges into opportunities and filling you with peace that surpasses all understanding. When we start our day, it's easy to get caught up in the hustle of the world around us. There are deadlines to meet, people to please, tasks to complete, and 1,000 things vying for our attention. Yet Jeremiah 29:11 reminds us that God's plan for us is not just about the daily grind, it's about something far greater. It's about living with a purpose, having a direction, and understanding that everything we do is part of a bigger story. This verse gives us the opportunity to reset our mindset every morning and to approach today with the understanding that God is with us in everything, guiding us toward our destiny. In our fast-paced lives, it's so easy to forget that our time and energy are precious resources. We get distracted by the things that don't matter and spend too much time focusing on the small, fleeting problems that pop up every day. We can get caught up in the pursuit of material things or societal approval, and before we know it, we're spending more time chasing after empty goals than fulfilling our true purpose. But when we start our day by remembering that God has a purpose for our lives, we shift our focus from the temporary distractions to the long-term goals He has set before us. This reminder is powerful because it tells us that our time is not wasted, that everything we do is meaningful, and that every action we take can bring us closer to fulfilling God's greater plan for our lives. Living with purpose means living intentionally. It means understanding that every moment is an opportunity to move forward in God's plan. When you wake up and reflect on Jeremiah 29:11, you're reminded that there's a bigger reason behind everything you do. Whether you're at work, with your family, or simply going about your day, you're not just completing tasks, you're fulfilling God's purpose for you. This mindset helps you to approach each moment with focus and clarity, knowing that even the mundane parts of your day serve a greater good. It's not about doing things just to get them done. It's about doing them with the understanding that they are part of God's plan for your life. In addition to focusing on purpose, remembering that God has a plan for you helps you embrace the opportunities that come your way. Life is full of twists and turns, and sometimes we find ourselves in situations we didn't expect. Yet, when you start your day with the belief that God's plans are good and full of hope, you can approach the unexpected with confidence. When challenges arise, instead of feeling defeated or lost, you can trust that they are part of the plan. Every challenge is a stepping stone to growth. Whether you're experiencing success or facing setbacks, everything is part of a greater design that is meant to help you reach your full potential. A key part of living with purpose is aligning your actions with your values. Jeremiah 29:11 is a reminder that God's plan is not random, it's intentional, and so should your actions be. Every choice you make should be a step toward the future that God has promised you. Whether it's making a positive impact at work, building stronger relationships, or taking better care of yourself, when you live with intention, you make choices that align with God's purpose for you. And when your actions align with that purpose, you begin to experience a sense of fulfillment that comes from knowing you're walking in the right direction. But it's also important to remember that living with purpose doesn't mean we have to do everything on our own. God's plan for our lives is not a solo journey. It's one that includes support from others and from Him. As we walk in the direction of our purpose, we can rely on God's guidance and the strength He provides. You don't have to figure everything out alone. Every step you take in faith is guided by His love and support. When we acknowledge that His plan for us is not just about us, but about how we contribute to the world and those around us, it gives us even more motivation to live with purpose every day. Starting your day with this mindset is more than just a reminder of God's plan. It's a challenge to take action, to align your steps with your purpose, and to be intentional in everything you do. The power of Jeremiah 29:11 lies in its ability to redirect our focus from the distractions of the world to the bigger picture God has in store for us. It's a call to live each day with meaning, to be a part of something greater than ourselves, and to trust that God's plans will guide us toward the future He's promised. When you start your day with the belief that God has a plan for your life, it's not just about having a purpose or knowing that there's a reason for everything that happens. It's also about understanding that God's timing is perfect. Often we get frustrated when things don't go as planned. We might be working toward a goal and hit roadblocks, or we might be waiting for things to fall into place, but it feels like time is slipping away. Jeremiah 29:11 reminds us that God's plans are not just about what happens in the future. They're also about the journey we take to get there. And while we may not always understand why things are happening the way they are, we can trust that every moment is part of a larger design. One of the most important aspects of trusting God's plan is realizing that His timing is not our timing. We live in a world where everything seems to move at a rapid pace, and we often feel like we need to have everything figured out now. The pressure to meet deadlines, achieve goals, and get ahead can create a sense of urgency that leads us to rush through life. But God doesn't work according to our schedules. His plans unfold in His own perfect timing. And when we align ourselves with that timing, we open ourselves up to receiving His blessings at the right moment. Waiting is a part of life that many of us struggle with. We live in a world of instant gratification where we want things right away. But when we start our day by acknowledging God's plan for our lives, we also acknowledge that His plan may take time to come to fruition. The waiting process is not wasted time. It's time for growth, preparation, and learning. It's during the waiting periods of our lives that we are often shaped and refined. God uses these moments to prepare us for the future He has in store. If we were to get everything we wanted when we wanted it, we might not be ready to handle the blessings He has prepared for us. The waiting period is where character is built, faith is strengthened, and trust in God's timing grows. God doesn't make mistakes, and His timing is always right. While we may feel frustrated or discouraged by delays, it's important to remember that delays are not denials. Just because something hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't. It might be that God is preparing us for something bigger than we ever imagined. Every step we take, even the ones that feel like setbacks, is leading us to the place where we can fully experience the plans God has for us. Sometimes the delays we experience are actually divine redirections, pushing us toward a better path than we could have planned on our own. Trusting God's timing also means trusting in His wisdom. He sees the bigger picture, the things we can't see. We might not understand why something is happening, but He knows what's best for us. He's working behind the scenes, orchestrating everything for our good. There might be a delay in a promotion, a relationship, or an opportunity, but that delay could be saving us from something that isn't in our best interest. What we perceive as a delay is often God's protection, leading us to something even greater. When you trust that God's plan is not just about the destination, but about the journey, you begin to see waiting as a positive experience, a time to grow and learn. One of the keys to finding peace in God's timing is learning to surrender. We can't control when or how things happen, but we can control our attitude toward the waiting period. If we approach each day with the belief that God is in control and His timing is perfect, we start to experience a deeper sense of peace. We can release the pressure to make things happen on our own and rest in the assurance that God is at work in our lives, even when we can't see it. The more we surrender to His timing, the more we can enjoy the journey, knowing that He is guiding us toward the future He has promised. When you start your day with this perspective, you can face each challenge and delay with confidence, knowing that God is not only working in the moments of success, but also in the moments of waiting. Trusting in God's perfect timing gives you peace, patience, and perseverance. It allows you to stop rushing through life and start living in the present, knowing that everything is unfolding according to His divine plan. Starting your day with the understanding that God has a plan for your life can also help you approach your daily challenges with a sense of resilience and perseverance. Life isn't always going to be easy. We all face difficulties, obstacles, and situations that test our strength, patience, and faith. But when you understand that God's plans for you are filled with hope and a future, it can give you the strength to keep pushing forward no matter what comes your way. Jeremiah 29:11 reminds us that God's purpose for our lives is not just about the good times, but also about how we navigate through the tough moments. The beauty of God's plan is that it doesn't promise an easy journey, but it does promise His presence, with us every step of the way. When we start our day with the confidence that God has a purpose for us, it changes the way we handle challenges. Instead of seeing every problem as something that will derail us, we begin to see them as opportunities for growth. Every struggle becomes a chance to develop resilience, to build character, and to trust in God's strength. The difficulties we face are not signs that we are off track. Instead, they are moments that build our faith, refine our resolve, and strengthen our ability to withstand future challenges. Resilience is built when we learn to view challenges through the lens of God's purpose for our lives. Instead of focusing solely on the immediate pain or difficulty, we shift our perspective to see how this challenge fits into the bigger picture of God's plan. The struggles we experience today may be preparing us for something greater tomorrow. When we know that God has a plan for us, we can face challenges with the assurance that they are not pointless. Even when we don't understand why things are happening the way they are, we trust that there's a purpose behind it. That trust in God's greater plan allows us to persevere through adversity without losing hope. God's purpose for us doesn't guarantee that we will always have smooth sailing, but it does guarantee that He will be with us through every storm. When we start our day by reminding ourselves of this truth, we can face difficulties with a sense of peace and determination. Challenges no longer have the power to crush us because we know they are temporary and that God is using them to refine us and prepare us for the future He has in store. The strength to keep going doesn't come from our own power, but from the understanding that God's plan will ultimately lead us to the place we are meant to be. Perseverance is about holding on even when everything around us is falling apart. Starting our day with the awareness of God's purpose for our lives gives us the confidence to keep moving forward no matter the obstacles. We may not see the end result right away, but we can trust that every step is bringing us closer to fulfilling God's plan. Every setback is an opportunity to trust in God more, to learn patience, and to grow in faith. The more we practice resilience, the more we learn to rely on God's strength rather than our own, and the more we understand that He is working through every circumstance, no matter how difficult it may seem. It's also important to remember that perseverance isn't about doing things on our own. We were never meant to go through life's challenges alone. God is with us every step of the way. And when we start our day by acknowledging His presence and His plan for us, we can face anything with the confidence that we don't have to rely solely on our own strength. We are never alone in our struggles. God is always by our side, empowering us to keep going and to keep trusting in His purpose. When we begin our day with this understanding, it gives us the courage to face each obstacle with hope, knowing that we are not fighting these battles alone. When we start our day by remembering that God has a purpose for us, we also understand that His plan is bigger than any obstacle or setback. This mindset shifts our focus from the problems we face to the bigger picture that God is working on behind the scenes. It allows us to approach each challenge with the belief that no matter what happens, God will use it to help us grow stronger, wiser, and more aligned with His purpose. Perseverance becomes easier when we know that God's plan will never fail and that He will always provide us with the strength to endure. Ultimately, starting our day with the understanding that God has a plan for us gives us the perspective we need to face life's challenges with resilience, strength, and faith. It transforms our struggles into opportunities for growth and helps us trust that no matter what comes our way, God's purpose for our lives will always guide us to where we need to be. Starting your day with a focus on Jeremiah 29:11 helps to reinforce the powerful truth that God has a plan for your life that is filled with hope and purpose. This understanding goes beyond merely knowing that you have a purpose. It's about trusting that God's plan will lead you to a future that is better than anything you could have imagined on your own. When you wake up each day with this belief, you're aligning yourself with God's will, and it sets the tone for everything that happens throughout your day. The way you approach each challenge, each opportunity, and each relationship is colored by the conviction that God's hand is guiding you even when things don't seem to make sense. One of the most powerful effects of starting your day with this mindset is the way it empowers you to take on life's challenges with confidence. Life can be difficult, and we all encounter moments when we feel uncertain, scared, or overwhelmed. But when you remind yourself that God has a specific plan for your life, it gives you the strength to persevere through those moments. Knowing that God is actively involved in your life means you are never alone, no matter how dark the path may seem. Even when the road ahead feels unclear, you can trust that God is leading you towards something good, and every challenge you face is a stepping stone toward fulfilling His purpose for you. This belief also helps you overcome fear. Fear can be one of the most paralyzing emotions, keeping us from taking risks, making decisions, or stepping out of our comfort zones. But when we wake up each day knowing that God has a purpose for us, fear loses its grip. Instead of worrying about the unknown, we can embrace the opportunities that come our way, knowing that God is already ahead of us, preparing the way. The fear of failure, rejection, or uncertainty becomes less significant because you understand that these obstacles are part of a larger journey that God has mapped out for you. This perspective allows you to move forward with boldness, even when things don't look easy. This understanding also shifts how we view success and failure. Too often, we judge our worth based on external achievements, titles, accomplishments, or the approval of others. But when we wake up with the belief that God has a plan for us, we shift the focus from what the world says about success to what God says about our purpose. We begin to understand that success isn't always about outward recognition or material gain. True success is about being in alignment with God's will for our lives, regardless of how it looks on the outside. Even failures become valuable lessons, teaching us something important on our journey. Instead of allowing failure to define us, we allow it to shape us into stronger, more resilient people who are learning to trust in God's timing and plan. Another benefit of starting your day with the belief that God has a plan for you is that it brings peace. We live in a world filled with distractions, stress, and uncertainty. But when you remember that God's plan for you is one of hope, it creates a sense of inner calm. No matter what chaos may be happening around you, you can rest in the assurance that God is in control. The peace that comes from knowing you are walking in alignment with God's purpose isn't dependent on external circumstances. Even if your day is full of challenges, you can still have peace in your heart because you trust that God is working everything together for your good. In addition to peace, this understanding gives you direction. Many people feel lost or confused about what they should be doing with their lives. They struggle to know what path to take, what career to pursue, or what relationships to invest in. But when you start your day with the awareness that God has a plan for you, you invite clarity into your decision making. It becomes easier to discern which choices align with God's purpose and which ones don't. This clarity makes life less overwhelming and gives you a sense of confidence as you take each step forward. You don't have to have all the answers right away. Trusting in God's plan means that He will guide you as you go. Starting your day with this belief also strengthens your faith. As you move through life, you will encounter moments when you don't understand why things are happening the way they are. You may face disappointment, setbacks, or even periods of waiting. But when you remind yourself of God's promises, you can endure these moments with patience. You can trust that God's timing is always perfect, even when it doesn't align with your own expectations. This builds a deeper sense of trust in God's plan, knowing that He is at work behind the scenes, weaving everything together for your good and His glory. The more you start your day with the understanding that God has a plan for your life, the more you experience the transformative power of trusting in Him. Life becomes less about trying to control everything and more about yielding to God's will. It becomes less about striving for success according to the world's standards and more about walking in the purpose that God has uniquely designed for you. This mindset will not only give you peace, confidence, and direction, but it will also inspire you to live each day with a sense of meaning and purpose, knowing that God is guiding you every step of the way.